Hey, this is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. I'm working out some fighting words. But before we go any further, you know what I'm going to say. I need for you to like this video and also please subscribe to my channel. So in this video, I want to do a fight breakdown for Canelo Alvarez and his fight against Jermall Charlo, the bigger of the two twins. And 168, I look forward to this. So let's go. So the first thing I want to start off with is it's Canelo. I felt like I've done a lot of fight breakdowns for Canelo. So it's like, what else could I say? Well, so with this video, what I'm gonna do is I'm kind of gonna play off Jermall Charlo's strengths and then work in how Canelo will overcome that. So the first thing I'll say with Canelo is he's kind of a slow starter. Now, that's something, but really, he's not necessarily a slow starter. He's just probing. He's just testing the waters. He's just seeing what you do. So with Charlo, he's a fast starter. Charlo's going to show a lot of what he can do very early. Canelo's going to absorb that information, and he's going to use it in the later rounds. Now, that could be dangerous because Charlo is not one of the people you want to get momentum inside of. He doesn't need momentum. You don't want him to get momentum. He leads off a jab, and the more he throws that jab, the more comfortable he's going to get, and the more fluid his punches are going to come. Now, the upside to that in this particular match is that Charlo is taller than Canelo, and Charlo fights kind of tall. Canelo fights kind of short, and he likes to dip into it a little bit. He spreads his legs, just getting a good foundation because he's going to absorb a lot of shots early, just because he wants to see, what his opposition is going to do. Canelo's not going to be totally active rounds 1, 2, and 3. However, so there's one thing that I do know both the Charlo. Now I don't know if it's because they're twins. I don't know, but during middle rounds, they dip. They dip in their action. They dip in their productivity, like everything. The amount of punches thrown around, everything dips. Like the energy just dips. I'm not saying they're front runners or anything like that. I'm not calling them 4-round fighters. What I am saying is what they start with in those middle rounds, it dips low. And I think it's because they start so fast. And they just have to kind of muster it, back up. And I think that's where that lion part comes in, because if you look at the way Jermall Charlo fights, he starts off strong, middle round's a little shaky, and that's typically where his opponents will get back in the game. And then he has to muster back, and that's normally when the dog would come out of him. Now, I'm saying this and I'm starting with this because that's bad territory, and I'll tell you why. Canelo's not necessarily a slow starter. He just likes to gather information. So by the time Charlo begins to dip, Canelo is already saying to himself, well, I got what I need to go offensive. I got everything I need. Now it's go time. By the time Charlo's dip starts, Canelo is basically waking up. So those middle rounds are going to be really interesting because at that point, Canelo's going to start to press Charlo. We're talking about the middle rounds. Canelo's going to start to press Charlo. And again, I already said it, Charlo's taller than Canelo. Charlo fights tall. He's not a huge dip or anything like that. He fights upward. That being said, we already know that Canelo is a tremendous, amazing body puncher. You're just giving him space to operate. You already fight tall, and you're already taller. So you're just giving him a lot of real estate to work with. And believe me, Canelo's going to work with that real estate. Like I said, Canelo kind of dips in just a little bit, and his base is a little lower. That's nothing but real estate. This is nothing but real estate. Nothing but ribs. Nothing but ribs. And Canelo's going to test those ribs. Gonna test them early. I don't think Canelo's going to try to get into a jabbing game with Jermall Charlo. I feel like he'd be in the losing end of that because he is shorter. And Charlo he's a natural jabber. Like, he's just going to jab all day anyway. So he's a natural jabber. Canelo, though, is going to work those ribs, and he's going to start to work those ribs around 4, 5, and 6. Right around the time that Charlo is going to dip a little bit low. That's going to be interesting. We're going to see Charlo's heart. He's going to have to bring that line out. He's going to have to bring the line out. The same way he brought the line out in the Dermachenko fight, he's going to have to bring that line out. And those middle rounds are going to be really interesting. The middle rounds are going to be sink or swim. It's going to be those middle rounds, sink or swim. That's what it's going to come down to. And on top of that, another thing that I was looking at as I was just watching over Canelo, he sometimes lunges with hooks. And I think that's kind of just perfect for Charlo. So what I mean is he's throwing the jab. Canelo is explosive. He's already got a low base, and he'll just lunge in with a hook. Lunging in with that hook, he could easily take Charlo off his feet. I do believe he has enough power to take Charlo off his feet. I believe both of the guys have enough power to stop the other, honestly. So power, I'm going to say it's even. I might give one extra notch to Charlo just because he's bigger than Canelo. But power, they're pretty much even. I believe they both have what it takes to take the other off his feet. Speed will go to Canelo. Remember, Canelo used to fight at 147 pounds. So speed is definitely going to go to Canelo. And one of the reasons why Canelo has been so successful when he's been moving up, fighting these bigger guys, is because he's faster than them. That's why he's been one of the reasons why he's been so successful. He's faster than them. And although Charlo is very athletic, I do not think he's faster than Canelo Alvarez. Maybe the smaller Charlo is, but I don't think Jermall is. I don't think he's faster. So power, I'm going to say they're even on that front. Speed is definitely going to Canelo. Then when we break it down and we look at activity, when we look at history, well, Canelo has way more experience, hands down, way more experience. Canelo's had to dig deep. Those triple G fights were not easy. He had to dig deep. And there have been other fights where Canelo's had to dig deep. I mean, Canelo has losses, and he has a loss to Floyd Mayweather, That Lara fight was not easy for Canelo. I don't think it was hard physically on Canelo, but I think mentally that Lara fight was not fun for Canelo Alvarez. He looked frustrated. He couldn't find Charlo. So Canelo has been in more compromising and stressful situations than Charlo has. So that being said, I think when it gets down to the gritty, Canelo has more experience. He knows what it takes to go to the deep. Charlo, in my opinion, has only truly been to the deep once, and that's the Dermachenko fight. He's only truly, because he's been dominating the guys that he's been fighting. So, not to say he hasn't had tough fights, but he hasn't had to go to the deep. He hasn't been down on the scorecards, and he's like, oh, I got to do something this round. Canelo has. Canelo's been tied up round for round with somebody, or Canelo's been down rounds to another opponent. Charlo has not gone through that, or not to the degree or the extent that Canelo has. So the mental, I'm probably going to get it from you guys for this, but the mental aspect, I'm going to have to say that's even as well. And I'll tell you why. Because, yes, Canelo has been to the deep more than Charlo. Yes, Canelo has had a lot tougher opposition. Charlo's only had one real deep, solid, hard test, which he passed, the Dermachenko fight, in my opinion. But the reason why I say that they're kind of even in the mental aspect is because Charlo hasn't He still has an O. He hasn't lost. So I feel like they're even right there because he's an undefeated fighter. A lot of people are giving me flack. Oh, why are you saying he could win? He could win. He's an undefeated fighter. I have never seen him lose. You have never seen him lose. Nobody's ever seen him lose because he's never lost. So therefore, there is a factor that we have to take into consideration. Mentally, he's strong as a rock because he's never lost. So you have to put that in consideration. Canelo does have a loss. I'm sorry. On his record, there's a loss. Whether we like it or not, there's a loss. So there is something in the back of his mind that says, I can lose. There is nothing in the back of Charlo's mind that says, I can lose because he has not lost. Therefore, when it comes to the mental aspect, just who's got it right here, they're even. Canelo has shown I could go up different weight classes and knock people out. So I'm strong mentally. Also, I've been in there with some of the best. So I'm strong mentally. Charlo, on the other hand, I have never lost. I'm strong mentally. I have had this strap for some time. I am strong mentally. So therefore, they're even in my eyes. Until you prove me otherwise, they're even. I think this fight will come down to adjustments. And I've stated before that Jermall Charlo doesn't know how to adjust. But the reality is Canelo Alvarez has a lot of fights. I think he's coming up on 60. When you're talking about adjusting, he's fought just about every style there is. He's seen everything. He's seen the slick guys. He's seen the tough guys. He's seen the defensive guys. He's seen the offensive guys. He's had tall guys in there. He's had short guys in there. He's had stocky muscle guys in there. He's had every type of dude and every type of fighting style that you can think of in front of him. And therefore, when it comes to adaptability, Canelo gets that notch. I'm sorry. Charlo doesn't get that notch. Canelo gets that notch. When it comes to adaptability and what can I adapt to and what level can I rise to, Canelo has shown consistently he can rise to that level. Canelo has shown consistently that he can adapt to an opponent in a particular fighting style. He's shown that. He has shown that. And another thing that, probably the last thing I'll end with, and I feel like I'm going to make another one of these, but will Charlo get mesmerized like everybody else does? Listen, I'm telling you, I've been saying it every time. Every time somebody fights Canelo, they tend to get mesmerized and tend to fight out a character. Now the question is, Charlo, will you? I don't really know. I know Canelo will be in character. Canelo has seen everything. Canelo has been under the bright lights. Yeah, Charlo, he's headlined, but not to this magnitude. Yeah, Charlo's fought in front of big crowds, but not to this magnitude. Yes, Charlo has done press conferences, but not to this magnitude. There's a difference, people. There's a difference. So adaptability, experience, speed. Canelo has a lot of notches on this one. He has a whole lot of notches on this one. He's going to listen, Charlo's going to have to be the dog. Not a dog, a lion. You're going to have to be a lion. And guess what? Canelo's a lion. And you know what happens when two lions meet? They fight. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But Canelo has a lot of notches on this. And on paper, there should be no reason why he should not come out triumphant. However, stranger things have happened. Andy Ruiz versus Joshua. So anything can happen. So I'm not saying, it won't happen, but anything can happen. But when I break down these two in their particular skill sets, in their history, Canelo has a lot more notches to his credit than Charlo has. And therefore, based on those things, I think it's safe to say I'm leaning toward Canelo. However, I am going to do a fight breakdown for Charlo. That first video was not a fight breakdown. That was just me saying the fight was happening, and I just went on a tangent pretty much, just thinking about skill. But I think this is going to be a very interesting fight. I think this fight is going to come down to infighting. I honestly, this fight is not going to be a distance fight. It would play into Charlo's benefit if he fought at a distance. But for some reason, guys get in front of Canelo and they get mesmerized. They do silly things that they don't normally do. And we'll just have to wait and see the night of what happens with Jermall Charlo. That's basically it. So that's my fight breakdown, and I feel like I'm going to make another one of these, or probably, a response to another one that I make. But you know the routine. Those are my thoughts. I would need you to drop your comments down below. And as always, please like, please share, and please subscribe.